I know you can't hear the music, but sweetheart, maybe that's not what dance is really about. 23-year-old Azura Lennox stood in the rain outside the dance studio, her mother's words from that morning echoing in her mind as tears mixed with raindrops on her cheeks. She'd just received her 7th rejection, another choreographer who'd smiled politely and said, "We're looking for dancers who can follow the rhythm. I'm sorry." But Azura couldn't stop. Despite the rain, despite the rejection letter crumpled in her pocket, she began to move. Her bare feet found purchase on the wet pavement, her body translating emotion into motion, the way hearing dancers translated sound. She danced to vibrations she felt through the ground, to rhythms she carried in her heartbeat, to music only she could feel. What Azura didn't know was that 33-year-old Theron Vesper, one of the country's most celebrated choreographers, sat in his car across the street, watching her with growing fascination. He'd been parked there for 20 minutes, wrestling with whether to enter the studio, his studio, though he rarely visited anymore, when movement in the rain caught his eye. The deaf girl moved like water itself, fluid, instinctive, utterly present. She wasn't performing, she was surviving through motion, expressing grief and defiance in equal measure. Theron recognized that desperation. He'd danced like that once, before fame turned art into commodity. He stepped out of his car, rain immediately soaking his expensive coat, and approached slowly so as not to startle her. When Azura's eyes met his, she stopped abruptly, embarrassment flooding her face. Theron pulled out his phone, typing quickly. "Please don't stop. That was the most honest dancing I've seen in years." Azura read the message, confusion replacing embarrassment. She signed back, "You know sign language?" Theron's response came after a pause. "My sister was deaf. She taught me before she died. Keep dancing, please." Something shifted in that rain-soaked moment. Azura began to move again, and Theron watched, his choreographer's eye seeing not disability, but profound possibility. She felt beats through vibration, interpreted emotion through her body's wisdom, created rhythm from pure instinct rather than imposed structure. When she finished, breathless and vulnerable, Theron typed, "I'm Theron Vesper. I own this studio. Why were you rejected today?" Azura's hands trembled as she signed, "Because I'm deaf. Every choreographer says the same thing. I can't follow music, can't stay on beat, can't perform with hearing dancers. They're probably right." "They're wrong," Theron typed firmly. "They're looking for mimicry. You're offering art. There's a difference." He paused, then added, "My sister Lyric died 5 years ago. Car accident. She was a dancer too, the most talented person I've ever known. She taught me that music isn't just sound, it's vibration, emotion, the space between heartbeats. You dance like she did, like you understand that truth." Azura's eyes filled with tears. "No one's ever said that before. Everyone just sees what I can't do." "Then they're not looking properly," Theron signed, switching from typing to fluid gestures that revealed deep familiarity with the language. "I have a proposition. Let me choreograph something specifically for you, movement designed around what you feel, not what you hear. Will you trust me?" Over the following months, Theron and Azura worked together in ways that challenged everything he thought he knew about dance. She taught him to feel vibrations through wooden floors, to translate emotion into movement without musical cues, to understand that rhythm existed in breath and heartbeat and the body's own wisdom. Azura discovered that Theron had stopped choreographing original work after Lyric died, convinced his best creativity died with her. Now, working with Azura, something dormant awakened, grief transformed into purpose. One afternoon, during a particularly difficult session, Azura signed, "Why are you doing this, really? You could work with any dancer in the world." Theron signed back slowly. "Because you remind me why I started dancing, not for applause or recognition, but because movement is how we make sense of things words can't touch. My sister taught me that. You're teaching me again." He paused, then revealed something he'd never told anyone. Lyric was supposed to audition for a major company the week she died. They'd already rejected her because her deafness complicated ensemble work. She was going to prove them wrong. She never got the chance. Helping you feels like finishing what she started. Azura's expression softened with understanding. "I'm not her, though. I can't be her replacement." "You're not. You're you. That's exactly why this matters." 6 months later, Theron premiered his first new work in 5 years, a solo piece designed specifically for Azura, performed to music that emphasized vibration and bass frequencies she could feel, with visual elements that made the performance accessible to deaf and hearing audiences alike. The night of the premiere, Azura stood backstage, terror coursing through her. Theron found her, signing, "Breathe. This isn't about proving them wrong. It's about showing them what they've been missing. You belong here. You've always belonged." The performance was transcendent. Azura danced with the same raw honesty Theron had witnessed in the rain, but now refined, powerful, undeniable. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted for 5 full minutes. Backstage, she found Theron crying quietly. "Lyric would have been so proud," Theron signed. "Not of me, of you, for refusing to let the world make you small." But the real surprise came the next morning. 3 major dance companies contacted Azura, offering positions. Critics called her performance revolutionary, praising how it expanded the definition of what dance could be. Theron met her at the studio to celebrate, but his expression was bittersweet. "I need to tell you something. Those dance companies that rejected you, I called them, told them they'd made a mistake, that they should watch your premiere. I wanted to make sure they saw what they missed." Azura stared at him, emotions warring. You advocated for me?" "I did what Lyric's choreographers should have done for her. I refused to let talent be dismissed because it looked different than expected. You earned those offers through your dancing. I just made sure the right people were watching." Azura's eyes glistened. "Thank you for seeing me, not my deafness, me."
"Thank you," Theron signed, "for reminding me what art is supposed to be. Not perfect, just honest." 1 year later, Azura performed with a major company. In pieces Theron continued to choreograph specifically around her unique strengths. But more importantly, she'd started teaching workshops for deaf dancers, showing them they didn't need to hear music to create it. At one such workshop, a young deaf girl approached Azura shyly. "Everyone says I can't be a real dancer because I can't hear. Is that true?" Azura knelt to the girl's level, signing, "Dance isn't about hearing music. It's about feeling it, in your body, your breath, your heartbeat. Some people hear rhythm with their ears. We feel it with our whole selves. That's not less, it's just different. And different is beautiful." Watching from the doorway, Theron felt his sister's presence, not as grief, but as gratitude. He'd spent 5 years running from her memory, convinced her death ended something. But Azura taught him it began something instead, a commitment to seeing potential where others saw only limitation. That evening, Theron and Azura sat in the studio where it all started. "Remember when you found me dancing in the rain?" Azura signed. "I remember thinking I'd never seen anyone so free," Theron signed ack. "I was crying because I thought my dreams were over," Azura admitted. 7 rejections, everyone telling me I didn't belong. I was ready to give up." "What changed?" Theron asked. Azura smiled. "Someone saw me. Not my disability, not my limitations, just me, dancing in the rain, and decided I was worth taking a chance on. That's all any of us needs sometimes. One person who looks past what we can't do and sees what we can."
True talent doesn't always announce itself in expected ways. Sometimes it dances in the rain, rejected by those who can't imagine art beyond their narrow definitions. Sometimes it requires one person brave enough to see differently, to recognize that what the world calls limitation might actually be unique perspective. The most profound revolutions begin with simple kindness. Someone who stops to watch instead of walking past, who asks, "Why not?" instead of accepting "never," who sees the human before the label. We're all dancing in the rain sometimes, practicing dreams the world insists are impossible. What saves us isn't changing who we are. It's finding someone who sees our difference as strength and says, "Show me, teach me, let's create something the world has never seen before." That's not just kindness, that's how we change what's possible. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.